Hi everyone, welcome back to the Metamorphosis podcast. My name is Milan. Call me whatever you want. It doesn't actually matter that much as long as we like, respect, admire each other, and have a respectful conversation. That's all I care about. Welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm going to be speaking about surprisingly not many things. I'm actually not going to be speaking as much as I normally do. I'm going to turn my camera a bit towards me. That should be a bit better. Got a few new cameras. My home studio looks incredible now. I'm grateful to all the support I've been receiving and all the people who've been looking forward to this content. It is not easy to be a podcaster, to be a YouTuber, to be all these things. Although I don't like labels, I don't like categorizing myself. It needs to be done so that people can understand the nature of my work. But thank you for doing that. Thank you for allowing me to do this with you. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for inviting men into this space. Thank you to all men who've been writing me and wanting to share their experience of essentially waking up, of becoming men, of really understanding what being a man is about without defining it, without compartmentalizing it, without projecting it, without harming someone else in the process of becoming a man. Which, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the main and essential things of becoming a man or becoming anything. When we speak about becoming, I've read something beautiful a few days ago, and I've read this, I think, in the work of Viktor Frankl, and I think Rollo May, although I'm not sure. I'm sure it's a Jungian psychologist, and it said that men must become. And this ranks so true with me that men must become. We all are the way we are, and we know that. We know that there is an inherent value within us. We know that there is inherent beauty in us. We know we all contain that, as I like to say, fragment of divinity within us. And we all know our worth deep inside. Women are much better at this. Women are much better because they have such a stronger community, and they do this with each other. They speak openly about this importance of the self, the solipsistic nature. And us men do not do that as much. We are very solitary in our endeavors and lives, and I can only speak about myself and my own personal experience, and that is I tend to isolate, I tend to remove myself from the world when something does not feel right. So I don't go towards a community to find or seek shelter or comfort. I'm more comfortable isolating myself, and I think that has an enormous role to play in understanding one's own value and worth, because a lot of women I speak to say that they have a community of friends or a friend or someone they speak to when it's difficult for them. For us men, that is very difficult and tough because we're just not used to that. Most of us, and I say that very freely because most men I speak to have this and share the same experience, did not have a community, did not have a parent to whom they would go and speak about certain things. And this, of course, doesn't mean you go to your parent, mom or dad, or speak about whatever's on your mind. It simply it means having an outlet, be it a creative outlet, be it, I think creative outlet would be the best, but a healthy outlet for you to communicate your truth and for you to communicate, truth, not your truth. Truth, this is true for me, this is happening. And to not be held back by the world, which is so easy to do to us men through shaming, guilt, and the implication that there is a burden of performance. And us men are already inherently aware of that. We're aware that there is so much that we need to do and perform, be fathers, be husbands, be protectors, be providers. And I'm happy, exhilarated to see men waking up to their power, to their potential, and understanding their inherent value and worth. I unfortunately don't see it as much in person as I see it online. And there's a danger in that because I am only subject to what I perceive to be real. So all I can do is trust that these men who show themselves to be doing well online, myself included, are actually doing okay, are doing the work, are becoming the best they can be. Because essentially there's nothing more you can or should do in life, and shouldn't. But to become better, to be the best you can for you, and thus to the world. But to be of service to the world, to have a purpose to the world, so that your value to the world is not only for you. The more powerful you are as a man, as a person, as far as I'm concerned, but we're speaking about men now. The more powerful you are as a man, the more aware and conscious you are and cognizant you are of your power and intelligence and nature and loving being, the more you are going to be connected to the world, because the world is going to respond to you in that same way. And that is why it's so important for you to speak. I shut myself off after a horrible breakup I had about a year ago. And I felt devastated for losing a community of people whom I trusted and genuinely loved and cared for, only to realize that that wasn't reciprocal and reciprocated. And I had a choice. I was faced with a choice. Soldier on, move on, fight, or despair, or go and chase these people who clearly don't want to be a part of your life, nor would they want you to be a part of theirs. So, as a man, I had a choice to choose myself in a sense, and in a most beautiful, loving sense as a man, not in this aggressive, yeah, fuck you, and you hurt me and you betrayed me. Betrayal has become a really important factor of my existence. Not that I glorify betrayal or that I say anything that you should betray someone, but when someone betrays my trust, there is still love for them, but I will never look at that person the same. I can forgive, I can let go, but there is simply something that does not allow me to go back. And mostly, and this is me telling you guys something that I think you should explore on your own. Always explore things on your own. Try to spot the signs of betrayal. Try to see, to believe in yourself, in your gut, when it says, this is a bit off. I need to increase my awareness and attention here. If you choose to communicate with the person after you experience something is off in the situation, in the moment, and you will know it. You will know it because your awareness will become heightened. You know it because something is going to change in your perception. It's going to change drastically. If you speak to someone and they say something and there's a response in you, be aware of that response. Be aware of what goes on. Because if you do not resolve that within yourself, you don't have to always tell people what you feel and what you think. That's a stupid idea. But observe feelings as they arise. See what it's about. See who you are. See what you feel, what your emotions are. Don't name them. Just see what this is about. And if you want to get up and walk away, that's exactly what you should do. If you want to stay, you stay. But you do that presently and willingly, and you make a decision that when someone betrays you, or you feel they're about to, you observe that. Try not to judge. Try not to blame people for betraying you. Try not to pity yourself for being betrayed. I lived in that for so long as a man. I lived in that loop of reminiscence, of a toxic nostalgia, I even think, of thinking about my past and people I used to let in my life, only to understand these people do not want to be a part of my life. And I thought I had such an enormous circle of friends as a man. But that wasn't it. Because if we do not occupy the same reality, and if that in that reality we agree that this is it, we are on the same page, we are doing this together, if you don't agree with that, then that's not real. That is one of the main issues that I have. For example, I always use the example of LGBTQI movement and communities. If a person comes to you and says they're a unicorn, and you can clearly see that they're not a unicorn, then how can that person keep on believing they are something they're not? And I can use the same analogy for any other example. Because if you do not If you and the other party, the other side, do not see clearly, and you don't see what this is, with no labels, no names, then how the hell do you know that what you have with someone is real? What is your measurement? How do you measure the reality, the severity, the seriousness, the beauty, the love that you have with someone? It requires an enormous amount of energy and attention, which is unfortunately something we often lack today as people in relationships with ourselves and then with each other, because we do not give to ourselves that time that is so necessary to us to wind down, to slow down. There's no rush. We'll make it. We know we'll make it. I was so concerned about my podcast, my business, my website. Everything runs smooth because I just don't rush it. I do not rush this. This will grow. People will see the value in this that I do. And if they don't, let them be. If there are people who recognize the truthfulness and the authenticity in what is being said and told here, without observing me through the lens of the past, of a memory that they have of me, and thus filtering the reality through that lens, through that sieve, let them go. Because people do that. We do that. We look at someone else and we see them through the lens of the past. That is a traumatic and post-traumatic response to that. And it's a very strong word, trauma, and I use it very carefully, so please bear with me. When you look at someone and you see them through the eyes of something that they had done in the past, one event probably and very likely, one thing you remember them by, pay attention to your relationship to that memory. Pay attention to how you feel when you look at that person, because you're just there. You're in the street. You're walking in the street and you're looking at a person you haven't seen in 2 years. But you remember that one thing they did to you. And then that memory triggers another memory. And then you get all tangled up in these emotions. And all you're doing is walking down the street and you just see one person. Human relationship is much more than past. But for us to understand the past and thus reality, there needs to exist a space in which that can be spoken about. And I'm very happy to see men actually learning to hold space for that, and to also learn how to ask for space to be held for them. It will be very difficult for you as a man to find people like these, to find women like these. But it is worth it. It is worth it, and you should give it a shot. But most importantly, as Jiddu Krishnamurti beautifully says, you have to be a light to yourself. You have to be, as a man, understanding and cognizant of the fact that there is no one else there but you. You will meet people, you will share lives with them, you will build families, you will build communities. All that remains. All that is going to happen. Do not forget that all that is also going to go one day. Nothing is permanent. Nothing remains. Nothing is going to last. It is there for a moment, and then it disappears. And even if it lasts for 10,000 years, it is still going to disappear. Now, whether we're going to make it last for 10,000 years or million years or 1 year, does that really matter? Or does it matter that you're fully there in that experience and just enjoying and grasping everything that experience is, as a man and as a woman, to just witness what is going on without judgment and see. And forgiveness is not even something that you are going to be thinking about if there is someone that betrayed you or hurt you in the past. It's a word. Forgiveness is a word, and the word is not the thing. It's simply, did I forgive someone? Maybe I didn't. And still we move on through life. We still coexist. We have to coexist. We cannot allow ourselves to isolate as much. The world is benefiting. The people, the very people who who are wanting to destroy this world are benefiting from us being separated and isolated from each other, ideologically, psychologically, gender, sex-wise, in you name it. The more divided we are, the more there is a fertile ground to manipulate with us people, with common people, with regular people who have regular jobs and who just want to go about their lives. But in all that, it is our role, I believe, and I see, and please correct me if I'm wrong, as men, to be those leaders. Not leaders in terms of, I'm going to go study to be a leader and I have a certificate and now I'm a leader and now you should follow me. Or for me to create something of value and have men admire me and now I'm their leader and they listen to everything I say. No, to surround myself with men who question everything just like me, and that there is a constant movement and validation of each and everyone's importance and presence, and that we learn together, and that leadership is something that is present and allowed to everyone, and at any moment. Yes, we are stuck in a competitive mindset. That's how we grow up. That's how we were raised. That is the mammalian brain within us that still believes it needs to compete. The human brain, when we evolve, when we learn this, is one of collaboration, is one of sharing, is one of community, is one of elimination of borders and boundaries and hierarchies. They are still going to exist to a certain extent. And don't forget, the word is not the thing. And hierarchies always change and fall, like empires that rise and fall. And at the same time, it is inevitable for us men to rise. Because we need to become. We need to build something of value to be appreciated in society, to be valued by society. Forgive me for saying this, and this is simply something I observed and realized just recently. But women, to me, appear to have an intrinsic value, and they are valuable simply because they are women, because they are bearers of life, and they are beautiful, and they take care of themselves, and that in itself is one of their most beautiful defining qualities. Without objectification, without focusing solely on the external. But for us men, in order for us to be even considered valuable to women, we need to be perceived as having something of value to offer. That is why one of the first questions I get asked when I meet women is, what do you do? And I want you to deeper ponder into this and ask yourselves why. Because I think you know the answer already. And without condemning or judging women, simply seeing reality for what it is. Why is the first question a woman asks a man very often, what do you do? Because for women, they need to create the image in their head that you are a good investment, that they can actually safely put their time, effort, energy, and attention in you, because that will not only reciprocate, it will grow exponentially. So again, there's always exceptions. There is always a different way to view this. But men benefit tremendously by learning about women and female nature, but while also avoiding compartmentalization, putting women in boxes and saying, yeah, women do this, women do that. We need to refer to specific categories of women and be very specific. I learned that with my activism, with my work, which I've been very, very whipped for, but I've also been very rewarded for that with a lot of incredible feedback from people who've been supporting my work. And I learned that it's very easy for people. If I say, for example, women are afraid of men, then I will usually get an angry comment that says, well, you don't know women, and this is, and I say, yeah, of course, I don't. I only met a certain portion of women, and this is my experience with women. And I think that's the best we can do. I think the best we can do is simply communicate truthfully and honestly the length and quality of our experience and what we've perceived, with the honest intention to grow, and with the honest intention and desire to move forward and not allow our egos to get the best of us by creating a narrative, a story, telling someone that we are a certain way and they are a certain way, but with a curious mind, investigate and research into how it actually is together. Because I have no idea how it is until someone comes and says, hey, look at this. Can we observe this together? Because only in relationship can we learn. I can sit here behind a microphone in my room recording on these 3 cameras and telling you, I can go until tomorrow telling you about what is and what isn't. But how about we do that together? And I just put the data out there and I put the information out there and people look at it and they don't get influenced by it per se, but it triggers a question in them. So you don't, I call this generation the TikTok generation. You don't just go to TikTok and get information from TikTok. It's awful. It's ruining your brain to go to social media for information. You go there for entertainment because you're bored. Don't confuse that with going to social media for education. If you want to educate yourself, you find the most suitable, best way for you. And that way usually requires discipline. And if you have discipline, you know that you're learning and growing. But if you do not have discipline, if you're on your phone, and if you're consuming social media as source of information to educate yourself, you're fooling yourself. True vocation, true discipline bears a significant amount of fruit. And it's the most beautiful thing that you can do to yourself in this life. It is not easy showing up for the podcast every week. It is not easy waking up a certain time every day. It is not easy to do any of the things that are valuable and worthy. But if you're a man or a woman for that matter, that has a goal, that is not just a creation of the mind, but a goal is in the moment. I want to be present, mindful, loving, and strong. Automatically, the solution to that will come, and the action will be automatic. You don't even have to. I tell this to people all the time, but that's something you have to understand on your own. If you want to get rich, ask the question, how do I get rich? To yourself, not to someone else who is rich. I want to get a good body. Ask yourself truthfully, but ask yourself deeply, do I want this? How bad do I want it? What am I willing to give, commit, sacrifice, let go of? And am I willing to put in the work? How that looks like is going to just come up like this, with no even effort almost, because it will be evident and obvious to you. And once you keep showing up, I know this, you might have heard this a million times, but if you keep showing up, if you keep demonstrating consistency, results are the outcome of you showing up and being disciplined. Read Atomic Habits by, who was the author? The book is right there and I can't see it. Wait. Let's see. Atomic Habits by James Clear. That's just one of the books. You don't have to read books to learn about habits, but the awareness of your habits, the awareness of who you are as a person, of what you do, what you're doing, that is what's required for you to change. If you want a family, if you want a faithful, loyal woman, you gotta be a loyal man too. Simple as that. Everything you want in life, you gotta reciprocate. And not just reciprocate, you have to be that. And the most beautiful thing in all that is witnessing that process with no attachment. Time goes by and you just look at the empire you've built and you just say, wow, look at the things that I've done for myself and for the world. I really hope someone sees this, and I really hope someone recognizes the value in this because they chose to, because I didn't pay marketing to sell it to them. I didn't pay money to convince them that this is something that's good. People saw this and they resonated with it energetically, spiritually, in whatever level or way. And they said, I trust this man. I want to get in touch with this man. And that is the one thing we don't do anymore. I don't understand how you can, as a man or anyone, because mostly us men want to start businesses. How do you want to be successful and not risk calling people and getting in touch with people and wanting to establish good connections and being afraid of rejection? As a man, you cannot allow that thing. Rejection is your biggest, greatest weapon. You gotta learn how to be rejected as a man, regardless if it's approaching women, talking to women, asking for their number, wanting to marry a woman, for God's sake. Rejection is, in a sense, something we're so afraid of as men, but is necessary to propel us in the right way. How I like to say it is, try to see life as an upward spiral, but also in 2D. Try to see it as an upward arrow that goes like this. And each time you get rejected, it just kind of curves. It deflects, and it changes direction, but it always goes up. So you're always going to go up no matter what. And a rejection in one way or in one place means you should go to another place. And that process might be exhausting to you because you just want to rest, you just want to take a break. Do that. But don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your dream and what you want to do. It is the most beautiful thing you can do for yourself. I started a podcast. I paid for my own website. I learned to do everything on my own. And I'm not saying this so that I can, I'm better than someone who doesn't. No, this requires such a meticulous dedication. And success is something that is going to come to you naturally because you will attract success. You are success. You demonstrate value to people who decide to invest in you, not the state, not the country or some investor. Friends, people who recognize value in you, who can look at you in the eye and say, I think what you're doing is going to change the world. Here, I support you. Or, how can I support you? How can I be a part of this? So if you want to be a part of this, of what I'm trying to do, to genuinely empower men without turning them into misogynists and women-hating bigots, reach out, help men reach out to me or me to them, facilitate communication, let's organize public discussions. I'm going to lead that. And it doesn't matter who leads it. What matters is that happening. Make that happen. Make that work, because one phone call can be dividing you from an ideal life and a dream that you want. One phone call. And I've learned that the hard way, believe me. That was a lot. That was really good. I'm just glad if you found value in this, I hope this brought value to you, because all I wanted to say is, I'm glad men are waking up. I'm glad men are realizing their value and how they're being used by all these forces that are aiming to use men for their value to the world, to the society, to women, to each other, to themselves. And I'm happy to see men simply learning to say no, learning to say, hey, this is the best choice for myself. This is the best decision for myself. Learning to form healthy, good relationships with women, men, communities, families. It is at this point inevitable. You cannot stop this. The world is trying to break families. The world is trying to confuse men and women, divide them, put them at war. It is not going to happen. We are not going to allow it to happen by communicating and by having an open discussion and dialogue. Be one of those people. Do not be afraid to speak up. Even if it's something absurd that you have to say. Say it, because you just might meet a person, likely myself, that's going to tell you, that's bullshit. And I'll tell you why. And maybe it is. Maybe also I'm wrong. But that conversation needs to be had so that we don't divide, isolate, and separate any further. So that we can actually sit and disagree and still be okay with each other, still love each other, still support each other. Because truth doesn't change no matter what we say. And likely, none of us is right, because we are not omniscient. We don't know everything. We are not fully aware of the depth of this reality and existence. So every time we say that we know something, we might actually not. So why not just sit together and realize we don't know actually as much, but still, let's sit and have a talk. Let's have a chat. And that is exactly the purpose of this podcast. So if you know a man, or if you're a man who wants to speak up and open and share your experience, you're welcome. Come and reach out, and we'll make that happen. I've reached the end of this podcast, 30 minutes, and I just want to say thank you for everyone who has been very supportive thus far. I wish you nothing but the best. Keep growing, keep strong, help men, support women, each other, love each other, respect each other. Grow, evolve, overcome yourselves. Be the best you can be. And if not, just be yourselves. That's the best you can do too. Take care and bye.